Hi everyone, this is Dr. Musa from Simple Medical. Today I'm going to speak about the muscles of the skull. Let's get started. So, the muscles of the skull, we divided into several groups, and I want you to memorize each group very well because when I speak about this nerve that's innervate the supply this group, so you understand that group which muscles contain. And I hide one side and I keep the other side because when I will say this muscle is origin from this area and inserted into the skin or the cranial aponeurosis so you understand what I mean. At the beginning here, we have the occipitofrontalis muscles, and this muscle, it has a two belly. It has the anterior belly and it has the posterior belly. The anterior belly, its origin that from the muscles of the forehead are going to be the procerus muscles and orbicularis oculi muscle. And in the posterior belly, it is originated from the two-thirds of the great knuckle line and origin from the temporal bone. So this muscle is inserted in, sorry, this muscle is, the insertion of this muscle is inserted into the epicranial aponeurosis. So this is about the first one. Second one are going to be the auricularis group, which mean the muscles that in the anterior and the superior and the posterior of the ear. It's called auricularis group. And the anterior, it is originated from the temporal fascia and epicranial aponeurosis. And the superior, it is also that origin from the epicranial aponeurosis, but not the temporal fascia. And in the posterior, auricularis posterior, it is originated from the mastoid process of the temporal bone. Okay, what about the insertion? I will show you pictures to make it clear more for you to understand where it's inserted, each part. As we see in the pictures, the auricularis anterior, it is inserted in the spine of the helix of the ear, and the superior auricularis, it is inserted in the superior surface of the auricular upper part, and the posterior, the auricularis posterior, is insertion in the pedunculus of the conchal eminence. So this is about the auricularis group. Let's back again. The second group are going to be the orbital group. Okay, and the orbital group, it has three muscles. The first one are going to be the orbicularis oculi muscles, and this muscle, it is originated from the, let me show you, from the frontal process of the maxilla and from the nasal part of the frontal bone and lacrimal bone and the medial palpebral ligament. I will show you also in the pictures to understand each part very well. As we see in the front of us, that the muscles, it is originated from the medial palpebral ligament, and we said also frontal nasal part of the frontal bone and the frontal process of the maxilla and lacrimal bone. But this muscle, it is inserted into the skin of the orbital region and lateral palpebral ligament are going to be this one, and the superior and inferior tarsus. Okay, so this one is orbicularis oculi muscles. Sorry. The second one are going to be the corrugator supercilii. I'm going to hide this one. We finished already with the frontalis, but this one we will back again to it. This one's called corrugator supracilii. Corrugator supracilii, it is origin from the medial end of the supraciliary arches and fibers of the orbicularis oculi muscles. Okay, so where is it inserted? It's inserted into the skin above the middle of the supraorbital margin. Okay, is inserted into the skin. Again, I will repeat it. Inserted into the skin above the middle supraorbital margin. This about is the corrugator supraciliary. Let's back again. The last one are going to be the depressor supracilii. And the depressor supracilii, it is originated from the medial angle of the orbit. Okay. And the insertion are going to be inserted into the medial end of the eyebrow and the glabella. This is going to be the last muscle of the orbital group. Now let's start speak about the nasal group. In the nasal group, the first one are going to be the procerus muscles. And this procerus muscles, it is origin from the superior part of the lateral nasal cartilage. And it is inserted into the skin of the glabella and fiber of the frontal belly of the occipitofrontalis muscles. Okay. The second one are going to be the transverse portion, nasalis. And in the nasalis, it has a two parts. It has the alar part and the transverse part. In the alar part, it is origin from the frontal process of the maxilla. And in the transverse part, it is origin from the amaxilla superior lateral of the incisive fossa. Okay. What about the insertion? The alar part are going to insert into the skin of the ala, and the transverse part are going to insert into the margins with a counterpart of the dorsum of nose. Let me show you. This one are going to be inserted into the margins with a counterpart at the dorsum of nose. Okay. This about the nasalis. The last one are going to be the levator labia superioris aliquae nasa. I hope I pronounce it very good because sometimes this muscle it's difficult to pronounce. This muscle, its origin that from the frontal process of the maxilla and is inserted into the lateral crus of the major of the alar cartilage, and it's a blend with the fibers of the levator labia superioris and orbicularis oris muscles. This one going to be the orbicularis oris muscle over here. Okay, this is about the last muscles in the nasal group. So again, the nasal group are going to be the procerus, the transverse portion of the nasalis, and the levator labii superioris. Let's go to the lower part, are going to be the oral group. And at the beginning that we will see in the oral group, the orbicularis oris muscles. It is originated from the medial aspect of the maxilla and the mandible, and is inserted into the skin and the mucous membrane of the lips. Okay. The second muscles are going to be the buccinator muscles, and this muscles, it is originated from the lateral surface. Let me zoom out. This one, it's originated from the lateral surface of the alveolar process of the maxilla and the buccinator's ridge of the mandible. It's inserted into the blend with the muscles of the upper lip. This is the second one of the oral group. Now, I will speak about these three muscles, but I want you to understand these three muscles is like a family. It will be the zygomatics major muscles and zygomatics minor muscles and levator labius superiors. Behind these three muscles are going to be the levator anguli oris behind these three muscles. But let's start speak about the first one. It's going to be the zygomaticus major. The zygomatics, it's zygomatics muscles. It is origin from the lateral aspect of the zygomatic bone, and it's also inserted in the blend with the muscles of the upper lip. Okay. The second one are going to be the zygomatic minor, and it is originated from the lateral aspect of the zygomatic bone, but this one is inserted with the muscles of the upper lip, medial zygomatic major muscles, going to be the medial, and last one are going to be this family, the three family, levator labius superioris. It is origin from the zygomatic process of the maxilla and maxillary process of the zygomatic bone. The insertion are going to be with the muscles of the upper lip also. And behind these muscles, as we said, it's levator anguli oris. And the levator anguli oris, it is origin from the canine fossa of the maxilla and is inserted into the skin and submucosa of the lower lip. We talked about these three muscles. We're still in the oral group, but now we will move to the lower, are going to be the serous muscles. The serous muscle, it is originated from the parotid fascia and the buccal skin, okay, and also is inserted into the skin and submucosa of the lower lip. And the last three muscles in the oral group are going to be the depressor anguli oris. This muscle, it is originated from the mental tubercle and oblique line of the mandible, and it's continuous with the platysma muscles. The muscle beside the depressor anguli oris are going to be the depressor labii inferioris, and it is originated from the oblique line of the mandible, and it's also continue with the platysma. And the last one are going to be the mentalis. The mentalis muscle, it's origin from the incisive fossa of the mandible, and it's inserted into the skin of the chin. Don't see you. Is inserted into the skin of the chin. So this is about the oral group. Now let's speak about the muscle of the mastication. The muscles of the mastication, it has the temporalis and the masseters superficials and the masseters deep. Let me show you this one. And the lateral petragoid muscles and the medial petragoid muscles. Starting with temporalis muscles, I'll show you. In the temporal muscles, it is originated from the temporal fossa and inserted into this area, apex and the medial surface of the crinoid process of the mandible. Okay. And second one are going to be the masseters superficial muscles. The masseters, it is originated from the superficial part, maxillary process of the zygomatic bone, and inferior border of the zygomatic arch, anterior 2/3. Okay. And in the deep part, it is originated from the inferior surface of the zygomatic arch, posterior 1/3. Okay. So the last two muscles are going to be the lateral and the medial petragoid muscles. It's clear now to see the topography and the name of these muscles, the medial and the lateral petragoid, because when we will say the superior head and the superficial part, we will understand from these pictures. So let's back again here. This one are going to be the lateral petragoid muscles. And in the lateral petragoid, the superior head, it is originated from the infratemporal crest of the greater wings of the sphenoid bone. And the inferior head of the lateral petragoid muscles, it is originated from the surface of the lateral petragoid plate of the sphenoid bone. In the superior head, it is inserted into the joint capsule of the temporal mandibular joint. And in the inferior head, it is inserted into the petragoid fovea on the neck of the condyloid process of the mandible. This one. So what about the medial petragoid muscles? Let me show you. In the medial petragoid muscles, it is originated from the superficial part, tuberosity of the maxilla, pyramidal process of the palatine bone, and in the deep part are going to be the medial surface of the lateral petragoid plate of the sphenoid bone. Where is inserted? Is inserted into the medial surface of the ramus and angle of the mandible. This one about the muscles of the skull. Now we are going to speak about the nerve